election season this year is that everything that the Democrats have been doing for decades is just totally out in the open, right? It's just amazing. I've been looking at these emails and looking at stuff like that. The DNC actually called MSNBC and told them to pull a segment they don't like. Now, is that like state TV or what? And not only that, but the DNC is doing what they always do. They're trying to blame Russia for their emails. Like, what is up with that? Are we going to fall for that? Are we going to, like, look at Russia and not look at the DNC? No way! If there was, like, one of the other most beautiful things about what's happening right now is that more and more people are getting it. They're rejecting the corporate parties. They're going third party. They understand that the way we build our power is outside of the corporate duopoly, right? So that's why this is such an incredible time. Many of you may know me as the co-director of Popular Resistance, and really for years, we've been focused on social movement building because history teaches us how we're going to get the change we need to get, right? This is, like Jill always goes, it's not rocket science, right? It's not rocket science. Look back. How did every great social transformation occur? It occurred from a strong, broad, diverse, and creative social movement that was bold in its action, right? And it happened with an electoral party that reflected the values of the movement. And that's what the Green Party is to me. That's why I'm Green Party, because the 4 pillars are nonviolence, social justice, sustainability, and grassroots democracy. And that's what we're all about, right? So thank you so much for marching with us today in this incredibly hot weather and having such beautiful energy out there. This is the year. Spread the word. Vote green in 2016. Even if we don't win all of our races, and we have a lot of races, I'm sure we're going to win some of them. We are building for a future that we have to build for. This is not a choice. We cannot stay on the same failed pathway that lesser evilism voting has taken us down. So I'm in this with you. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm giving it everything I have. I know that you are too. Spread the word. Let's do the hard work. Let's build the Green Party. Let's get Jill into the debates so people can hear her so she can win, all right?
Okay, for people who need some water, it's right over there. Bathrooms are over there, really close by. So, talking about revolution, our next speaker, Todd Cretion, is a member of the International Socialist Organization and a writer for the Socialist Worker. Todd.
How many people out here just got done that long march? I did too, so if I'm a little incoherent, stick with me for a minute, right? My name's Todd Cretion. I'm a member of the International Socialist Organization, writer for Socialist Worker. I want to begin by saying that we are an early, proud endorser of Jill Stein for president. There is a myth in this country that we live in a democracy. But if you just do the numbers, you realize that there are millions of people, millions of adults who cannot vote in this country legally. Undocumented immigrants cannot vote. The state where I come from, California, there's millions of adults who are not permitted to vote even in their children's schools, for school department, for Board of Education. For millions of people who have felony convictions, they are not permitted to vote. There are many people, millions of people who are not permitted to vote in this country. And the Democrats and the Republicans conspire to do everything they can to suppress voter interest. The two-party system isn't just that we've got two bad parties, it's that it's a system where they both collude to not allow competition in the elections. They want to convince you that you must submit to choice A or choice B. Are we going to submit to that any longer? And the elections make a big difference because every 4 years and every 2 years, the people come around and they say the only thing that matters is whether or not you vote. That's a big slander against the people they don't allow to vote, but it's a big slander against all of us who are out in the streets organizing unions, fighting for abortion rights, fighting for LGBTQ liberation, fighting to save the planet. We are the ones who are consistently out in the streets protesting and demanding change. And they have the nerve to come to us and say, you're not political, you're apathetic. We are no longer apathetic about their system. We want to get rid of their system. Now, how many people here felt the burn this year? I think what Bernie Sanders showed is that there are millions of people in this country who have had it with capitalism, who have had it with mass incarceration, who have had it with the new Jim Crow, have had it with the corporations' attack on our planet. And all of that was to the good. But I think we now need to learn the lesson of what's going to happen tonight at the Democratic National Convention, which is, as Jill says, you cannot make a revolution inside a counter-revolutionary party. The Democratic Party isn't a people's party. It's not an association of organizers. It is a ruthless cabal of fundraisers, lawyers, and people whose profession is to maintain this system that we call global capitalism. Make no mistake, the major cities of this country and their racist police departments are run by the Democratic Party. It is not an accident that the numbers of people the police are killing are mostly overseen by Democratic Party officials. We can't, as Jill says, make a revolution in a counter-revolutionary party. It's time to try something different. The last thing I'm going to say is that I think we need to fight on two fronts. Some people will tell you elections don't matter. Ignore them. Some people will tell you the only thing that matters is elections. I think we have to take both hands out from behind our back and say we are going to fight to rebuild the union movement, to demand $15 an hour, to demand national health care, to stop the slaughter of black youth in the streets by the racist police department, and to stop Obama and what will be Hillary's drone warfare program against the entire world. And at the same time as we're in the streets, we need to build a political party for the working class. We need to build a political party for the victims of police brutality, not the captains of those police systems. We need a political party that stands up for what we want and what we need, as opposed to every 4 years says to us, shut up and do what the banks want. So that's the sort of movement we need. Fight in the streets, the social movements, rebuild the unions, and build a political party that helps those struggles as opposed to tries to undercut them. What are you going to do in November 2016? Who are you going to vote for? And what are you going to do on November 9th? Are you going to get into the streets? Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is an environmental activist, a Teamster, one of the founders of the Green Party, and I was honored to be his running mate in New York for governor and lieutenant governor in 2010, Howie Hawkins.
It's good to see so many brothers and sisters here. It took me about 45 minutes to find us. We got diverted. Half our people are at another rally, but we got a full house, and that's great. They asked me to speak about labor and jobs issues. And Jill Stein's got a realistic program called the Green New Deal. It's a national mobilization to go for 100% carbon-free clean energy by 2030. And that plan will create 20 million new jobs, and it will cut energy costs drastically. The study in New York says it'll cut it in half by 2025. So, what we're talking about, the studies show, is technically and economically feasible. We got studies by Amy Lovins from the 70s, Ross Gelspan and at the Harvard MIT study in the 90s, Mark Jacobson and Solution Project studies today. The problem is not economics, we got the financing. The problem is not technology, it's there. There are two problems. One is the bottleneck is labor. That's why it's such a great job creator. It'll be hard to find the people to do these jobs to make the transition. The other bottleneck is politics. We don't have the political will. Now the Solutions Project bumped their timeline from 2030 to 2050 recently. And we know why they did it. They talked to some damn Democratic politicians who said it's not realistic to go by 2030. You give politicians 20 years and they're going to do nothing today. We know what's realistic. We got to start now aiming for 2030, and that's what Jill Stein and the Green Party. That's what we're aiming to do. Now the sun shines, you know that today. The wind blows, the rivers flow. That natural energy is all around us. And all we have to do is build out the renewable infrastructure to harvest that energy. And then if the marginal costs are almost zero. And that means the clean energy system is not compatible with the profit-seeking Exxons and Exelons and Energies and National Grids and Con Eds and PG&Es. It means renewable energy systems have to be shared, commonly owned and operated at cost, not for profit. Solar socialism is on the agenda today. If we really want real climate action, we need a community-based public energy system with local planning and regional and national coordination. And you know what? I helped form the Clamshell Alliance. I've been in this movement since the 70s. We were talking about that in the 70s. We had a whole model developed. In fact, model legislation was printed in the Congressional Record in December 1974. But the Democrats forgot about it. Bernie Sanders didn't even raise it. But the Greens are bringing this back. We're going to have a public energy system because we need to get the solar power, we need public power. Now the labor movement, and I'm in both the labor movement and the environmental movement, we talk about a just transition. That means when we close fossil fuel and nuclear, we got to take care of the workers. And this movement actually came, this demand actually came from the labor movement, the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union. Because those workers knew they were being poisoned by chemicals and fossils and atomic industries. And they wanted to get out of it, but they didn't want to lose their income. So the demand is full income and benefits till you find comparable work. That's part of what we got to bring the labor movement along with us. So the brothers and sisters there, no, we're not going after them, we're going after poisoning our planet. And only Jill Stein and the Green Party are calling for a just transition to clean energy. Finally, Jill talks about a federal guarantee to a useful job at a living wage. This is something that was progressive politics centerpiece from the 40s to the 70s. FDR put it in his State of the Union address, 1944, the so-called Economic Bill of Rights. The Black Freedom Movement picked it up with the 1963 March for Jobs and Freedom. A. Philip Randolph and Byron Rustin and Martin Luther King and them, they put it in the Freedom Budget in 1966. And King's Poor People's Campaign made it a central demand. And we got to the point where we got congressional legislation, but it was gutted under Carter administration and dropped by the Democrats. Sanders didn't raise it either. Jill Stein and the Green Party is bringing it back. So, the people want clean energy. They want universal health care and a public insurance system. They want public jobs for the unemployed. But why don't we have it? Because we try to get the Democrats to do what we say. That's political ventriloquism. It's powerless. It's dispiriting. It's demoralizing. We need an independent working class political action. Everybody here needs to think about, after this election, who's going to run in your community as a Green against the power structure. Most districts, because of gerrymandering, are safe seats for the incumbent. The minority major party doesn't contest seriously. The Green Party can be the opposition right away, the second party. So we're taking names. You got to go home. Take names. Get who's supporting Jill. Keep that list. Then after the election, if you don't have a Green Party chapter in your community, organize one. Then start running the candidates. So people need to take names, go home, get organized, and challenge the power structure from the bottom up. We elect people locally, then we're serious for state and Congress. So go home, organize, and get a big vote for Jill. And since I didn't grab the mic, I want you to know here in Pennsylvania, you can make a concrete gain. 2% of the vote gets a permanent ballot line for the Greens. In most states, there are 25 where a presidential vote can get a ballot line. Most of those states are 1 to 3%. That's a concrete gain. And another concrete gain is if we get 5% in the national vote, we get $10 million in public funding for the 2020 election. And we better get it now because the Democrats and Republicans have a bill in Congress to get rid of public funding for presidential elections. Why? Because they got so much corporate money, they don't need public money. So there's a lot at stake in this election, and don't let them tell you Hillary Clinton is the answer to Donald Trump. Because what do the Clintons do? What do the Clintons do? The Clintons triangulate. They accommodate the right. We can't rely on Hillary Clinton to fight the right. We got to do it ourselves.